Hello everyone, today is 25th of April still. Now it's 22:05 in the afternoon Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is new episode of Headlines, short summary of the news that I will talk about in little more detail during the second news update of the day on my Patreon page. And well, there is quite a number of news that was reported by Russian media since my first update of the day. And I will start with the Vzglyad newspaper's report that Lithuania made a decision to return to Ukrainian male refugees that are military age. This was, according to this new newspaper, stated by Defense Minister of Lithuania, Laurynas Kasčiūnas. So, by the way, hunt on Ukrainian male refugees has begun in Europe, and well, things are gonna go from bad to worse for them, I guess. In first update, I reported about a decision-making process that is on the way in Poland to repatriate or to deport, basically, Ukrainian male refugees, military-age refugees, to Ukraine. Lithuania also open for this, and I guess in upcoming days more and more informations will be reported by media about similar decisions all around the EU member states or NATO member states. Next information is from RBK News Agency. According to this headline, during the previous 24 hours, Russian Defense Ministry destroyed several vampire MLRS systems of Kiev regime forces and also HIMARS multi-launch rocket system. RT is reporting that Biden's team doubts US aid will help Ukraine win, and this article with such attitude was published on Politico, by the way. Well, I have to say once again, sorry, but I have to notice that my prediction was correct, and we are on a daily basis seeing now this type of articles in major Western propaganda outlets. Every single day, no exceptions, that are basically lay down ground for inevitable outcome for this proxy war that collective West is waging against Russia, which is that Russia will emerge victorious anyway, no matter how much weapons and munition or money for that matter will be delivered to Kiev regime, and Politico is no exception. Now Politico is reporting about it. Of course, all the details during the second update on my Patreon page, but quite expectable development in this case. And as I mentioned in previous updates, of course, by pushing this narrative, Western ruling class that is in control of these so-called media outlets in the West, they are also preparing society in the West, including for process that we are observing now, beginning of the process that we are observing now, which is that Ukrainian military-age refugees will be deported to Ukraine, to be sacrificed basically for a geopolitical agenda of the West. And of course they want society that is under heavy influence of the Western propaganda to be calm when this process will undergo, will take full strength, and tens and hundreds of thousands, possibly, Ukrainian refugees will be deported to Ukraine to die, basically. RIA Novosti is reporting that New York Times provided public with additional information about secretly delivered ATACMS missiles to Kiev regime last month in March, and we know now approximate number of those missiles, which is more than 100. More than 100 long-range ATACMS missiles were transferred by Pentagon, by Washington, to Zelensky's regime during the previous months. And as I mentioned during the previous update, my reading of big picture, I guess, was correct when I said that this strike with ATACMS missiles on Jankoy airfield on Crimea about a week ago by Kiev regime forces was conducted with missiles that were delivered to Kiev regime recently. It is exactly the case, according to Western media, by the way. RT is reporting that Ukraine to step up long-range strikes on Russia, and this was stated or predicted by UK military chief. Russian authorities claim Kiev's attacks involving Western supplied munition have killed over 200 civilians since the start of this year. But yet again, who can say that Western ruling elites or Western ruling class cares about casualties among civilians in Russia or in Ukraine or anywhere on this planet? They don't care about life in general, life of other people. All they care it's themselves and their position in this world. They used to be in charge and they want to maintain this position, whatever the cost. And that's exactly what they are doing, and that's why they are sacrificing Ukrainian society. Lentero is reporting that Macron asked Europe to stop being vassal of US. Quite interesting. But yet again, this is Macron, by the way, top clown of the Europe, and today he may say one thing, tomorrow another. At this point, we can only ironize on all statements of Macron. Hardly anyone can take this bloody clown seriously. But call itself for Europe to work on its own sovereignty and independence from domination of the Washington or London, call itself is a correct call. Europe, of course, and the European nations, of course, supposed to be independent, but in reality, almost all of them are under heavy influence of Washington and London. This is just a factual. RT is reporting that that Belarus reveals alleged plot to attack Minsk from European Union state. The plan was to launch combat drones from within Lithuania. Security chief of Belarus, Ivan Tertel, has claimed details in my second update on Patreon, but this is a big deal, of course, because Lithuania is also a member of the NATO. And I said quite times before that I wouldn't be surprised at all if not just Ukraine, but also Baltic states that are run by extreme Russophobes and extremists in general will try with their criminal actions to provoke direct confrontation, not just to further escalate relationships between Russia and NATO, but to even provoke direct confrontation. And this information definitely points out exactly that it is highly likely that Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia may try, and they are actually working on it, to provoke war between Russia and direct war between Russia and NATO. Very dangerous, of course. Interfax is reporting that Lukashenko, president of Belarus, made a statement that there is tens of units of Russian tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus, and well, president of Belarus is not just okay with it, but he's happy about it. He said that strategic nuclear weapons may not be necessary to be deployed into Belarus, but a presence of tactical nuclear weapons definitely is a positive step. And it increases security of Belarus, which is, well, correct. I mean, it's hard to argue, really. With this, TASS News Agency is reporting that also Lukashenko, president of Belarus, made a statement that peace talks between Moscow and Kyiv may start based on initial agreements that was reached by two sides in 2022 during the Istanbul talks. Although he is also noticing that it's not necessary that current negotiations will take in account all that previous agreements between the sides that was then turned apart by Western leaders. We all remember Boris Johnson and high-ranking officials from US that went to Kyiv and basically derailed these peace talks. But as a beginning, these previous agreements between the sides may be useful. It's as a something from which sides may start conversation. Interesting take, especially because Lukashenko is in constant communication with the president of Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and maybe they had a conversation on this topic also, and who knows, maybe Putin said that, you know what, we are open for negotiations, and we can start from this initial agreements that we reached in Istanbul that was then derailed by the West. We can start from there. Although, of course, I'm 100% sure that Moscow will demand objective realities on the ground to be taken in account whenever and between whomever negotiations will take place. Okay, let's continue. Lentaru is reporting that there are protests, by the way, in Armenia, and protesters are shutting down main highways in the country. They are not happy with the current government. They are calling for resignation of the government and the prime minister. And main reason for these protests is that during the demarcation of the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan, Pashinyan's government is handing over number of Armenian settlements. Process already has begun. So a number of Armenian settlements will be transferred to Azerbaijan, and well, many people in Armenia, I guess, understand perfectly well that this process will not stop on these couple of villages, because everyone knows main goal for Azerbaijan is to establish direct land bridge between Nakhichevan autonomous region and mainland Azerbaijan. And Nakhichevan, as I said many times before, is bordering with Armenia, with Turkey, with Iran, but has no direct land bridge, land link with mainland Azerbaijan. So protests are taking place. People seems maybe, by the way, I don't want to make far-reaching conclusions, but maybe society in Armenia is waking up and beginning to see how dangerous this Western-run Pashinyan and Pashinyan's government is. For Armenian society there, who knows? Let's see how will things develop. Glad newspaper is reporting that President of Azerbaijan stated that Azerbaijan, despite being asked number of times by Ukraine, by some other countries that are in support of Kiev regime, Azerbaijan will refuse to provide any weapons to Kiev regime, and will only assist when it comes to humanitarian aid. And Azerbaijan already already participated in humanitarian aid of Ukraine for some $30 million. But main point is that Azerbaijan is refusing to deliver some weapon systems. Although, by the way, I have some questions here, because I mean, there are some industrial facilities in Azerbaijan that are working on production of weapon systems, munition, and there's, according to some rumors, those weapons and munition already been delivered to Kiev regime and may be delivered in the future. But who knows? Maybe Baku has, changed his mind, his approach, because recently, as we know, a couple of days ago, Aliyev, president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev was in Moscow and had a talk with the president of Putin, and now we hear this statement. I guess Baku is about to change its approach towards this Ukrainian crisis. RIA Novosti's report that the Russian Foreign Ministry is sorry, basically, that Armenian high-ranking officials continue to criticize CSTO, Collective Security Treaty organization that is created by a number of former Soviet republics, including Armenia. But and by the way, a few days ago I reported that Prime Minister of Armenia, Pashinyan, stated during his interview with British media that he don't really understands why Armenia is remaining into this organization, CSTO, and Moscow is, of course, noticing these kind of statements and anti-Russian, basically, steps from Yerevan. It's hard to not notice or ignore it. And this is reaction from the diplomatic one, by the way, quite diplomatic reaction, that Moscow is sorry that high-ranking officials are of Armenia are acting this way, basically. But I mean, if it was up to me, I will make very different statements, man. I will tell them, if you don't like anything, you know what, there is a direction that you need to go, and just do it, you know, and leave us alone, man. Just. But anyway, maybe, not maybe, definitely it's good that it's not up to me, man, to make decisions in when it comes to foreign policies of the countries, man. I'm too emotional for that stuff. And yes, I always remember, by the way, this is joke, of course, I'm joking. I always remember that there was a time when Georgian Ossetian was in charge in Moscow. Name of that Georgian Ossetian was Stalin, and yes, I guess it's good for everybody that since then there was no Georgian Ossetian in charge in Moscow, because who knows where this world would be in that place? Maybe in a good place, maybe in a bad place. I don't know. Just saying. Okay, let's continue. And I'm still in the Southern Caucasus region. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that well, one of the Georgian parliamentary parties, strong force of the people, Sila Naroda, force or strength of the people, made basically asked European Union for help. And this political group, by the way, is affiliated with the ruling party in Georgia, and well, they asked European Union for help. And you know what is the topic that they want EU's help? To defend, to protect traditional values. So basically, Georgian politicians are mocking European Union because, of course, we all know that Brussels and leadership in the collective West, in its majority, in its vast majority, don't care about anything traditional, anything spiritual, anything that has a real value for the society. And the Georgian politicians know this perfectly well, and they are basically mocking Brussels by asking for help in protecting traditional values. That's a quite interesting approach, by the way, to, you know, to let people know what kind of individuals really are running and ruining Western world, collective West, including European Union. Lenta.ru is reporting that once again, official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, made interesting statements. This time, she commented on Russia vetoing US resolution in UN about nuclear weapons in the space. And I believe Western media, if Western media will report about it, they will say that Russia just vetoed US resolution that will prohibiting deliveries of deployment of nuclear weapons into space, and they will definitely try to demonize Russia without explanations, by the way. And details have a meaning always. And if we go to details, and Maria Zakharova did exactly that, well, Russia vetoed this US proposal because Russian initiative was not taken in account, and Russia's initiative is that UN should prohibit deployment of any weapons into space. Not just nuclear weapons, but any weapons at all. And space should be developed for peaceful purposes. This is a better approach, isn't it? It is. But US did not take in account Russian suggestion. And that's why Russia vetoed this resolution from US in the UN. But as I said, man, I don't think Western media will pay attention to details. They will just try to demonize Russia because, look, Russia vetoed this resolution and therefore they must have plans to deploy some nukes in the space. When in reality, it's very different. Russia wants space to be not weaponized at all with anything, nuclear or non-nuclear weapons. Anyway, let's continue. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that President of Russian Federation today made a speech towards Union of Russian Entrepreneurs and industrialists, and he spoke about Russian economy, state of Russian economy, and he made some quite optimistic statements. For example, Russian economy in 2023, and of course many of you already are informed about it, I report this, in 2023 grow 3.6%, and will grow on a similar level, if not more, this year. Also, real wages since the beginning of this year increased 8.5%, and unemployment rate is historically low. It's less than 3%. And of course, Putin spoke about many other topics also. And RIA Novosti is reporting, I will end this, I hope, short summary on this news, that China launched its Shenzhou 18th spaceship, manned spaceship into orbit. I report about it on my Telegram also. So the Chinese manned spacecraft Shenzhou 18 launched on Thursday from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in Guangzhou province in northwestern China. It will carry a crew of 3 taikonauts. That's how cosmonauts or astronauts are called in China, taikonauts. So the crew of 3 taikonauts will, it will carry a crew of 3 taikonauts to their Tiangong orbital station, by the way. Right now there are 2 space stations in space. One is International Space Station. Russia is part of it. Russia was part of it from the very beginning. Although lifespan of ICC is nearing its end, and there is another space station, which is Chinese one, Tiangong, and these taikonauts are flying towards that station. I believe once ICC's cooperation between Russia and NASA and some other members of that International Space Station program, once this program will be end, Russia will start building, and maybe even earlier, its own space station on orbit, and some work already been done in this direction. And the recent test launch of Russian heavy rocket Angara A5 is definitely part of it, because it can deliver heavy payload to orbit, and it will play a crucial role in building Russian space station in upcoming years. And this is it, by the way, for this short news summary. Hopefully you will find it informative and interesting, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, and as many comments as you can, really, because this is the only way we can influence algorithm to reach wider audience. More comments and likes. And if you think this channel is interesting, informative, has some potential and deserves to exist, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon, on which I have some extra content on regular basis, news updates. For example, in a couple of hours time I will publish a news update also on my Patreon. I will go for a walk and record video. And also I have some non-political videos there also. For example, some photos, and recently I started making this program, Streets of Moscow. I already have several episodes, and this Saturday I will publish another episode of that. And well, I'm trying as much as I can to make this channel, Patreon, as interesting as I can for our Patreon community. So you may find it also interesting. So all the links, by the way, are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.